Hey, good morning, and thanks for coming back to the channel. I want to talk about some misconceptions that most people have, including me, when I started shooting 10 years ago, about this idea of living the armed lifestyle. And concealed carry or open carry doesn't matter. Um, Many of us, especially some of the guys, think that you're all that in a bag of chips when it comes to your marksmanship. The fact is, we all suck unless we practice at the high level of competition, and we have the guns that help us do that. Well, they're referred to as race guns in some quarters. The fact is, if you can put 3 rounds in 3 inches in 3 seconds, 100% of the time, under stress, you might be, you might be a good marksman in that sense. Um, but most people, including me, can't because we don't train and can't train because we have day jobs and we have other things we do. Um, so we do need to have a foundational proficiency, you know, to be able to hit your target. I refer to that as combat effective hits, as anything in the torso at 10 yards under stress. Now, that brings me to the second uh, misconception, and that is about what kind of ammo you use. The fact is that 70% of all people who are shot with a handgun survive, regardless, regardless of caliber, regardless of caliber. So you see these, articles and YouTube videos on stopping power and man stopping power. Most of that um, is, I don't want to say engineered, but the fact is that 70% of people that are shot with a handgun, whether they're by police or by another citizen or in a gangbang thing, they survive. Now, where you might get shot does matter because shot placement does matter. But then that comes back to my first part, and that's marksmanship, right? So, where you place the shot under stress does matter. That's also why you see um, law enforcement, especially because they're shooting 9 millimeter, right, for the most part, and they're just pretty much doing a mag dump on a bad guy. And sometimes you have two cops doing a mag dump on a bad guy. One of those 40 rounds or however many are in their magazine is going to stop the bad guy. Just keep in mind, because a person has been shot does not mean they are stopped. They don't instantly drop to the ground. If they want you, they're going to keep coming until they are forced to drop to the ground. That's why you keep placing rounds on them until they're out of the fight. Um, Sometimes marksmanship and tactics don't work, right? They're not the most important thing. The most important thing in surviving a violent attack is your mindset. How how have you thought about your willingness to use violence, deadly force against someone according to the rules of your jurisdiction, your state, and so forth? Have you really thought about that? Are you mentally prepared to kill another human being? Because that's probably what's going to happen if you draw your firearm and shoot, because you can shoot more than once, right? Your mindset has to say, as soon as I draw my gun, I am in threat of serious bodily injury or death, and I need to stop, meaning put down the threat that's in front of me and make sure that threat can't get up and continue their attack on me, right? That's difficult for most humans, but you have to think about that, and you have to think about that. If you carry every day like I do, you have to think about that every day. Every day. You have to run those scenarios through your head every day, right? And the last but not least, right, which is inconvenient, you need to be able, you need to understand what happens after the shooting. What happens? Do you know how to talk to the police when they come? Do you know what to do before the police come? Do you know what not to say? If you don't, most of the time you're going to talk yourself into jail, right? Because police show up, all they know is shots fired, shots fired. They don't know who the bad guy is. They don't care if it's in your house, because you could still be the bad guy. So when a shots fired situation, the cops are coming in hot. They're going to come in hot, and you need to understand that. So you need to not present yourself as a threat to them when they come into your house. Don't stand there and scream and sweat and all that kind of stuff. Compose yourself, and be prepared to not be armed when the cops show up, and not talk to them other than to say, there's the bad guy, he threatened me. I'd love to answer your questions, but I'm under stress, and I'll be happy to talk to you when I have my lawyer. And then you shut up. Or words to that effect. So I use USCCA as my speed dial attorney insurance thing. There are others, and you should research them to find one that you think works best for you. I've been using USCCA for 10 years. Fortunately, I've never had to use them other than some of their training and their good magazines, but I've never had to use their legal side to help me out. But I know that if I need to, they're going to be there. So those are some things that you need to consider as you enter the armed lifestyle, or if you've been in the armed lifestyle for a while, just to rethink some of that. Because it's important. It's important. You're not at the range when you're outside. You're out in the world, and you need to be able to behave as if you're out in the world. So, as I said, if you like the content, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Don't forget. Share if it's shareable. And as always, wherever you can, whenever you can, however you can, carry on.